Welcome back to Christian Questions on News Talk 104.7 WXLM. Our subject this morning, so what about abortion? To be a part of our program, call 860-442-9956. That's 442-WXLM.
And Jonathan, in the first segment, we talked about, or mentioned, we didn't really discuss, different abortion procedures. And as we were mentioning them and going through them, it is, for me, it's somewhat horrifying to look at that and look at actually what happens, because obviously we believe here on this program that life is sacred and should be protected as far as we possibly can. And to us, this is an absolute contradiction of that, and it's very sad. And I will tell you, folks, there's going to be a lot of very sober discussion this morning and sort of introspection as well. One of the reasons that this subject, we've done this subject before.
Yeah.
It affected me much more deeply this time than other times, and I was trying to figure out why is that, because you ought to be used to it, and A, you never get used to something like this, but B, as I was telling you before the program started, Friday was my grandson Dominic's first birthday, and he has just started to walk, and I was watching him walk the other day, and how when a child begins to walk, their focus is on the walking. And, their arms are out, and they're wobbling, and they're just taking those steps, and they start to lose their balance, and they're trying to get it back, and then they take the next step, and then you see the big grin because they've accomplished something wonderful. And you look at this, and all I could think of is, as I'm watching this, is that is an amazing miracle. And I sat there dumbfounded at the miracle of this child figuring it out. And now look, children figure it out. It happens every day. But when you see it happen, and it's your grandson, it's something very, very special.
Yes,
but what crossed my mind is that, in certain circumstances, that maybe that child wouldn't exist. And you think about that, and it's heartbreaking. And I think that sort of really, really punched this one home for me, that this is something that really needs to be discussed. So, folks, if you have a thought, it's 860, what's the number here? 442-9956, 442-WXLM. We'd love to hear from you. Jonathan, let's just touch on these statistics for a little bit longer here. We were talking about in 1971 and 72, it's 400,000 to 500,000 reported abortions in the U.S. What happened in 1975?
It went over the million mark, 1,034,000.
And it has been over the million mark ever since. And what we see happening through the 70s is not only the number going up, but the percentage of aborted pregnancies going up. I mean, in 75, you're at 24.8%. So that means 24.8% of all pregnancies ended in abortion. I think about that for a second. That's 1 out of 4. By 1979, what was the percentage?
30%.
30%. That's almost 1 in 3. 3 out of 10. And that percentage stayed over 30 from 1979 through when?
1984.
Okay, so for quite a span of time, and you're dealing with now what? 1.5 million each year.
That's right.
And numerically, when did it peak out? The number of abortions.
1984.
Well, no, the number of abortions.
Oh, the number.
Remember,
that's right.
You were pointing that out earlier.
1990, 1,608,000.
Okay, so now, interestingly, the percentage begins to decline, and at that point, even though the number is higher, the percentage is 27.9, and as you go through to the year of 2005, which is the last year they have statistics for, what's the percentage?
22.6%.
All right, so it's down. Now think about this. It's down to 22.6%. It's down to 1.2 million. Think about what we're saying. It's down to 1.2 million. Something, I think, is wrong with that picture. And again, these are statistics we gathered from Dr. William Robert Johnson, and these statistics were last modified February 17th, February 2008. So, and historical abortion statistics in the United States is what we looked up. So, as we go through this, the next item we want to really begin to touch on is just, let's go back and with the statistics as a backdrop, let's begin to ask some questions about this. Jonathan, though, we do have a call. Why don't we put the call on first before we get into something else?
Welcome to Christian Questions. This is Jonathan and Rick. Who are we speaking with?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good, thank you. This is Peter in Groton.
Yes.
But I'm not in Groton.
Okay.
But I'm from Groton. I guess that's kind of like what we're dealing with right now. We have a little glitch in our legal system that allows one person to end someone else's life. I do believe life begins at conception, because it's like perhaps splitting the atom. Once it starts, once those two little objects get together and start through life as a gift, I don't believe we have the right. We were all there once.
Yeah, you're right.
We were all there once, and I'm glad to be here now, and I'm glad that someone didn't make their mind up they didn't want me before they knew me. Even with the argument of rape or incest, it's still a person who has a right to life. And if you don't want that baby, it's even better for your body, if you're a woman, to go through the birth and get it over with, and then, go your way. There are people who will adopt. There are people who will help you. And but there's no excuse for taking that life. If someone is killed who is carrying a baby, who they want to have that baby born, that's 2 counts of murder. But yet it's okay for the person carrying a baby to make their mind up to end the life of the baby, and there's no murder involved there at all. There's no charge. It's a contradiction in our legal system.
Well, you're right, and it's a
I don't understand what makes that person, just because they're doing their part in recreation, however you want to put it. I don't think that puts them above the law. And they too were at one time spending approximately 9 months one way or the other, a week or so or whatever, but they too, every one of us was a fetus at one time. We were all conceived. So and when you describe that, the procedures, it's sickening, it's heartbreaking.
Yes.
To think that we would go to those extremes to take some person who is a human being and is so innocent, but for someone to make their mind up and to go to those extremes is just it's heartbreaking.
Thank you so much.
I just wish Roe v. Wade was argued in a better way, or I wish we'd just go after it again, and that's about it, I guess. But thanks, guys, and I wanted to apologize for calling last week. I thought about it later, and your show was a good show as far as that went. I think I didn't catch it quite right, and